Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. A lot to get into on today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., but before we get started, you know what I need you to do? Go on down, hit that subscribe button. You see it right below me for daily Niners updates. This offseason coming up for San Francisco, one of the biggest in the history of this organization. I have you covered every step of the way. So lock us in, subscribe today, and let's get to 153,000 subscribers. And this is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in. As always, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, we're going to get to the latest on Brock Purdy. What I have been told after speaking with multiple sources over the weekend, close to both sides in these contract negotiations. You don't want to miss today's show, and it's about to get underway. But first, today's 49ers Report made possible thanks to our friends at GameTime. The holidays are coming up, and GameTime is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it serves as the perfect gift. Even if you're in the rain at Levi's Stadium on a Thursday night, GameTime has a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Pick an upcoming live event on the app, browse through seats on GameTime Picks, and talk about the great deals you find. Because if you spread that information to your friends and family members, they're going to download the GameTime app just like you do, and all of you can go to the game together, or you can share those experiences and talk about memories together of when you go to these events. They have flash deals. They have all types of great deals so that you can save money and get the best vantage point and price point from your seats. If you want to travel to catch the Niners play the Miami Dolphins here in week 16 of the NFL season, plenty of tickets available. You also get that aerial view of the stadium there as well. So download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply, first purchase only, and also toggle the all-in pricing tool because it will show you your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. All right, the purpose of today's show. Busy weekend across the National Football League with Week 15 almost in the rear view. 2 Monday night games coming up. And after the Niners lost that game against the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday night, they're starting to look ahead to the offseason. And a massive storyline is developing, and a massive decision awaits this organization, the future of Brock Purdy. Do the Niners sign him to a contract extension or not? If they do, how much is it going to cost? And I want to begin by taking a look at the highest paid quarterbacks in guaranteed money and an average annual value, because that really does set the foundation for what we're going to talk about today, but for what you have to keep in mind over the next several months, because over the last several off seasons, we've run into these situations where the Niners have had to make decisions on their homegrown players. George Kittle in 2020, Fred Warner in 2021, Deebo Samuel in 2022, Nick Bosa in 2023, Brandon Ayuk in 2024, and now Brock Purdy coming up in 2025. So highest paid quarterbacks in guaranteed money. Dak Prescott with that deal that he signed before the season, $231 million. Deshaun Watson, $230. As we know, fully guaranteed on that deal. It's ended up being a disaster for the Browns. Joe Burrow at $219 plus, Trevor Lawrence at $200, Justin Herbert at $193.7, Lamar Jackson at $185, Jalen Hurts $179, Jared Goff at $170.6, Tua Tagovailoa at $167.2, and Jordan Love rounding out that list for guaranteed money at $160.3. That is really the number that matters the most. Sometimes people will look at a contract and they'll say, oh my gosh, Patrick Mahomes got $500 million. You got to look at the guaranteed money because teams obviously can cut bait if that contract goes awry and if the player declines and only have to pay him the guaranteed money, not the full course of that deal. As for average annual value here, Dak on that new contract signed for $60 million per season. Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence just got paid this offseason. $55 million average annual value. Joe Burrow is there as well. Tua Tagovailoa, 53.1. Jared Goff at 53, Justin Herbert at 52.5, Lamar Jackson at 52 even, Jalen Hurts at 51, and Kyler Murray at 46.1. Now, Chip, I want you to keep this graphic up because look at this list. How many quarterbacks is Brock Purdy better than on this list? And keep in mind that him and his representation are going to be able to bring that argument to the table. Would you take Brock Purdy over Tua Tagovailoa? I would. Would you take Brock Purdy over Trevor Lawrence? I would. Would you take Brock Purdy over Dak Prescott? I would. He's also beat him in head-to-head matchups 3 times. Would you take Brock Purdy over Kyler Murray? Probably would. Kyler Murray really struggles late in the year. Would you take him over Jalen Hurts? That's somewhat debatable, although Hurts is playing really well this year. Now, Jordan Love, I know he's been a little bit inconsistent, but my goodness, does he have a lot of potential. Joe Burrow, one of the top quarterbacks in the game. Jared Goff, I'd put Purdy right in that tier. And at times, since Purdy became the starter in 2022, he's played better than Jared Goff. Lamar Jackson has a couple of MVPs under his belt. Justin Herbert is so gifted. But the point here that I'm bringing up is that you would take Brock Purdy over some of these quarterbacks here who are on the top 10 list of average annual value. Now, throughout the weekend, there was a lot of reporting on the Brock Purdy contract front. Here's what I can add to the table. Some info is already out there, some is not. But I have spoken with multiple sources over the last few days, and here's what I've gathered. As an organization, the 49ers remain invested in Purdy as their franchise quarterback. They view him as one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, and they want to get a contract extension done. They want this deal to be signed, sealed, and delivered. But of course, the big question, how much is Purdy going to demand? How much are the Niners willing to pay him? And if they look at him as an elite quarterback, where in that tier do they see his contract falling? The Niners also view, I'm told, Purdy and Kyle Shanahan as a quarterback head coaching combination that they want to continue to build around for the foreseeable future. The Niners view Purdy's struggles this year, so does his camp, as a byproduct of a lot of things that have been out of Purdy's control. Going all the way back to training camp, the Brandon Ayuk hold him. He was without his number 1 wide receiver up until week 1. Not ideal. Trent Williams hold out. Brock Purdy did not have his left tackle protecting his blind side until week 1. Christian McCaffrey was out, came back, went out again. Then you think about some of the players who have been in and out of the lineup. Deebo Samuel, in and out of the lineup, looks to be washed. He's had a down year. George Kittle, he's missed some time. Still an elite player. Jawan Jennings, career year, in and out of the lineup. His first-round pick, Ricky Pearsall, barely did anything throughout training camp, did not play at all in the preseason. Then before the year, as he's coming off those injuries, he gets shot in the chest. So all of those players have been in and out of the lineup and have missed time. And the dark cloud that has hovered over this Niners organization all year is something that the players have talked about publicly. I'm telling you right now, the organization feels the same way privately. And the organization thinks that those things, partially, have contributed to Purdy's up and down play. They don't think that this is a sign of the league figuring out Purdy. Purdy and his camp, of course, because of course they do, also view him as an elite quarterback, I'm told. And you think about how he's going to be measured against some of the quarterbacks who we talked about a little bit earlier. And specifically, he's beaten Dak Prescott 3 times in head-to-heads. He has more playoff wins than Kirk Cousins. If Trevor Lawrence got $55 million after winning 1 playoff game, then Brock Purdy and his camp think that he deserves to be in the realm as far as that salary goes. So I'm being told, and I'm being told in a pretty stern way, do not expect Brock Purdy to take a hometown discount. The Niners are seeking a deal, or the Purdy and his camp, are seeking a deal between $50, $60 million, somewhere in that range that we showed you a little bit earlier. And Purdy's camp views that Baker Mayfield-like contract of 3 years, $100 million, $33 million APY as disrespectful, considering how Purdy's played, his playoff success, the quarterback that he's been proven to be, and the quarterback that he can still become because he's still a pretty young guy in his mid-20s. Now, I know a lot of people are going to fight back on this, but let me ask you this. If not Brock Purdy, then what is the backup plan? I don't think there's going to be a lot of quarterback movement this offseason. The free agency crop isn't all that good. I think Sam Darnold might return to Minnesota. Why wouldn't he? He's revived his career with Kevin O'Connell. Kirk Cousins, I want no part of him with the 49ers. He could get traded to a team like the Tennessee Titans or run it back with the Atlanta Falcons. You think about the Giants and the Raiders, probably going to take the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL draft. The Titans are in that category as well. Carolina Panthers might run it back with Bryce Young. Prior to yesterday, he was making some improvements. And this quarterback class to begin with is very thin as far as talent goes. So if not Brock Purdy, what's the backup plan? You're going to go after Aaron Rodgers, who's 41 years old now. In his last 7 games, he has 5 games of a passer rating over 100, but doesn't have the mobility that he's had throughout his career. The play has gone downhill since back-to-back MVPs a few years ago. And do you want some of the drama that will come with Aaron Rodgers? You could have Brock Purdy play on an expiring deal, and if the Niners don't want to give him $50 to $60 million, they want Purdy to prove that he's worth that price tag. Brock Purdy, go out there and prove it. But Purdy might hold out because he's barely made any money in his NFL career. He's been under $1 million every year that he's been in the league. Now, I know a lot of you will also press pause when you think about Purdy, somewhat limited athletically, making $50 to $60 million. I also want you to remember this. The salary cap has gone up dramatically over the last several years. Business continues to be booming. These new television deals are coming in, and they've continued to come in. The ratings for these games are still exceptional. Fan attendance and fan interest is still there. Betting markets are exploding right now, and that's going to coincide with the NFL salary cap going up. So Brock Purdy at $50 to $60 million, if he plays like he played last year and in 2022, could end up being a bargain. We could see a quarterback demand $70 to $80 million before it's all said and done. We could also see something different where teams kind of boycott the quarterback market and they try to reset it. They could say, we can't pay Trevor Lawrence $55 million. We can't pay Tua Tagovailoa $53 million. He can't play in the cold. He has a weak noodle arm against teams with a winning record. He literally can't win. We can't do it any longer. And so teams might boycott that. They might not pay quarterbacks, or they might just draft quarterbacks and replenish the cupboard every 4 to 5 years. That could be a pathway for San Francisco as well. But guaranteed money will be huge in this deal. And that's what I'm also being told. And that's something to keep an eye out for, because I had tweeted out over the weekend, what if the Niners gave Brock Purdy a 4-year deal, $120 million, fully guaranteed? That's more than Kirk Cousins got, 2 years, $100 million. It's way more than Baker Mayfield got, and you're giving Brock Purdy fully guaranteed money. Wouldn't quite be in that top 10 that we showed earlier, but could you give him $160 million fully guaranteed to put him in that top 10 fully guaranteed list? Bunch of different ways in which you can massage the cap and figure out these contracts. I also want to see what Purdy can do with more stability, consistency around him, with better offensive line play, with the skill position players around him. Because when he's surrounded with talent, and when Kyle Shanahan's doing a good job as a play caller, and he can play point guard, yeah, we've seen him play like Drew Brees out there, with that stature. Not a bazooka for an arm, but throwing with timing, touch, accuracy, anticipation. Those are elite traits. And I've seen some people in my mention saying, how can the Niners watch Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson and say, we want to pay Brock Purdy? Well, breaking news. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, quarterbacks like that, yeah, they don't grow on trees. Now, other people might be saying, Chase, You know, you host this show a lot. You talk about rumors. You talk about speculation. You don't really consider yourself a journalist or a newsbreaker. Yeah, I don't really consider myself a newsbreaker or a journalist. I used to be. I was on television as a news reporter. Now I'm more of a sports broadcaster, a talk show host. I analyze the game of football, but I do have a track record of reporting things, and I'm not going to report things if I don't think they're legit, if I'm not hearing it from legitimate sources. And my track record reporting, I had reported that the Niners wanted Ayuk. Ayuk wanted to return to the Niners. They were going to get a deal done. They got a deal done. I reported from the NFL Combine that the Philadelphia Eagles were showing interest in Cooper DeJean, the only team to set up a top 30 visit with him. Cooper DeJean gets drafted to Philadelphia. Been in the business since 2015, been to Super Bowls, been to NFL Combines, college football playoffs, been surrounded by people in this business, and the sources that I do have, pretty damn good sources. So when you're around the league, sometimes you get fed some really good information. In this case, fed some good information that I wanted to pass along to all of you. And as a Niner fan, you always want to be informed, right? So we end with this. How much would you pay Brock Purdy per year? That's the big question. That's the question that the Niners have to figure out. And in a few months, we'll see what it comes down to.